So here we go again, our second Coast in the Kingdom episode on the series this year, and we're off to a flying start. Now, we hadn't planned on covering this part of the coast for a while yet, but it just made sense with what was come up in the calendar that we started this trip this week here in Gloucester. And given we left home a little bit late, unfortunately it was straight to bed. We'd have found this car park on the Park for Night app. So we arrived, got settled, and it was straight to bed. So it's 9:30 at night and we have just arrived. We have parked up in the car park at our first stopover of the trip. And we've got something a little exciting booked for tomorrow morning, and ironically that's where we're staying tonight, in the car park of said activity. So yeah, looking forward to that in the morning. But it's time for bed now. The pop top is up. We are getting the boys ready and settled down for the night, and it's time for us to get some shut-eye. So we'll see you in the morning. So if you haven't guessed it already, the theme of today is downhill drama. That's right, we're booked on for a ski lesson for the boys at 11 o'clock this morning, their first ever time on skis. And given they'd woken up right in front of the ski slope, they were eager to get out of the van and get started with their day. But with the lesson not starting till 11 o'clock, we had a bit of time to kill. So we checked into the ski centre and booked on for a little bit of snow tubing, just to warm ourselves up.
Hands or feet on the floor or anything like that. Just, you will stop at the bottom. When you do stop, just straight to the end of the slope and then back up, push back up.
So with the health and safety talk out of the way, Harley was eager to jump in his tube and slide down for the first time. This is right up his street.
Yeah.
You ready?
Can I go fast?
Now his facial expressions don't often say it, but he was loving this. And it was rinse and repeat again for Harley, as he dragged his tube up to the top of the hill with a little bit of moral support from Laker. But don't worry, he didn't have to drag it all the way up himself. He blagged himself a ride. That is lazy. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ready for what?
Sliding down.
Sliding down, let's go! Now unfortunately, Lake was too young to do the tubing, but the ski centre were kind enough to give him a tube and he could practice on this slope here. Yeah, maybe not the most thrill-seeking of rides, but it was a slope nonetheless, and Lake was quite happy. And just like that, 11 o'clock had come round, so it's time to get boots on and kit on, ready for their first lesson. And with both of our kids being small for their age, I was a bit nervous they weren't going to find anything to fit them. But the staff at the ski centre were really helpful. They weighed and measured the kids and found enough kit for them to wear so they could get out and ski. Now Claire and I can both ski, and I know that if our boys go into it with full confidence, they would love it. But skiing for the first time isn't something you can really do with full confidence. It feels a bit strange. Big rigid boots, long things stuck to the bottom of your feet that make you trip if you cross them over. I was a bit nervous that the boys weren't going to enjoy it. But there's only one way to find out, and this dry slope was the best chance we was going to get at seeing how they found it. Now the ski instructor for the day, Lucy, was really good with the kids. She talked to them at their level, learnt their names, helped them understand the key fundamentals, and got them well on their way.
Push down really hard and push your knee back at the same time. Did you hear a nice big click? Walk with the other one. Push it forward, walk with the other one. That's it. That's it, Laker.
Good boys.
Well done. That's lovely.
I'm glad to see all those years of scooter practice is paying off. And so far, so good. But now's the time for the real test. 2 skis.
Well done. So put your skis facing across.
And it wasn't long after having both skis on, Lucy was confident enough to take the boys slightly up the slope just to get them moving. It looked simple enough, but for a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old in their first ever ski lesson, I thought it was more going to be about putting your boots and your skis on. So I was quite glad they got to experience sliding down for the first time.
Well done, Harley.
Good job.
Well done, Laker.
Good job. And thankfully, we had nothing to worry about. The kids were loving this. Sliding down full of confidence, they were acing it. But I do think the heat wasn't helping. It was scorching hot today, so wearing long sleeves, long trousers and a helmet probably wasn't doing them any favours.
Okay, head. Oh my God. Shoulders, knees, toes, head. Shoulders, knees, toes.
And their half-an-hour lesson flew by, and with Harley learning how to do the snowplough stop, he'd managed to complete his first lesson, so he's got his level 1 certificate. Laker was a little bit behind, but it won't take him long to catch up. So we were super proud of them today. As soon as the lesson was over, we got well on our way. Because today we were heading into Gloucester Quays. Now we've got a big day ahead of us, not just as a family, but for West Ham United, our football team. It's the last day of the Premier League, and today we find out if we get relegated or we stay in the league. Now both of our boys are massive West Ham United fans, and I know it's going to break Harley's heart if we do get relegated. But we didn't want to get too much into that. We took a nice walk up along the riverside into Gloucester Quays. The sun was still shining and the weather was incredible. We'd crossed over a suspension bridge and the boys got very curious.
Hello.
Hello. We've got curious.
Yes. Yes. We do. And we're possibly about to
you
open
wanna have
it
a
very
look?
soon.
Oh, wow.
And these guys were super helpful. They invited us all in to come and have a look and to watch them operate as they lifted the bridge to let a boat past. Talk about perfect timing.
Yeah, come on then. Thank you.
Oh, you're a star. Thank you very much.
I've never seen a bridge open.
Right, you two got the most important job now, okay? Because they're going to wave at us to say thank you, and you're going to wave back for us, okay? You two do that?
When the boat comes through. See the boat?
See you.
See the boat here? That's coming in. Can you see the legs? Keep watching them. 'Cause they're
So with the boys' job of waving at the boat complete, we carried on into town and we come across this designer outlet centre. So we did a little bit of shopping. I'm not going to lie, it was a nice distraction before the game. And somehow, the boys still managed to find some fairground rides outside, so we had to let them have a go on that. But we did have to leave pretty sharpish, because we had an appointment here at Blue Bamboo Bar. Now I reached out to the guys at Blue Bamboo a few days before we got there, just to see if they were playing the game. And Simon, the owner, he got back really quick and said he can sort something out for us. I'd mentioned we wanted to film our experience here at Blue Bamboo, and he was more than accommodating.
Boys, what's about to happen? What do we need to happen? Yeah, that'd be good.
So it's time for the nerves to kick in. And honestly, I'd kind of accepted relegation back in December, but this did not help. It's showtime. We need to pull something out of the bag, quick. So today, we play Leeds United, and we need to secure a win to get the 3 points off of them. But our problem is, there's another game being played. Tottenham versus Everton. Now we need Tottenham to lose this so we can overtake them on points. If they draw and we win, we still go down on goal difference. So there's everything riding on today. And whilst we weren't playing badly, I had a real bad feeling at this point. 42 minutes in, Tottenham get a corner. And there it is, the goal that could potentially send us down. We're still 0-0, and we could do with Everton pulling their finger out. So it's half time and it ain't looking good. Tottenham are 1-0 up and we're 0-0. We're playing alright, just not good enough. We need a win, and Tottenham need to lose. Let's see what happens. Second half to go. So it's nerves all round from the West Ham fans. This isn't how we predicted it to go at all. And we've got no one else to blame but ourselves. Well, some might say. But we got well underway with the second half and we started to show up. We bagged a goal. That gave us a little bit more hope. And a second. And eventually a third. But it just wasn't enough. West Ham relegated. Now this could have been a really bitter pill to swallow, but actually, being in the atmosphere of the Blue Bamboo changed it all completely. For some reason, I had a bit of a smile on my face and a pep in my step. Being in the company of these guys at Blue Bamboo definitely changed my mood around. The place was bumping, the staff was friendly, and it made it an all-round great place to be for match day. I can't recommend this place highly enough. If you're in Gloucester and fancy watching a bit of sport or having a drink, check out Blue Bamboo. Simon was more than helpful and the staff on the day did their job perfectly. So kudos to you guys, because that bar was busy all day. So it is defeat for West Ham United. We won our game, but Everton did not pull through. It's not their fault. We did not play well enough for the rest of the season. So West Ham are now relegated to the Championship, which I think we were ready for. But nonetheless, it's not great. It is what it is. There's a few positives to take away. There's no VAR next year. There's a few cheaper tickets and kits to buy next year. And there's also Millwall away. So let's see what next year brings. Samana, waka waka, forgives a hope. West Ham are down the chute.
Why isn't it West Ham staying up?
Because we didn't stay up, mate. No, I like to try and see the positive ever in a situation, and I don't want the boys feeling down about this. So we had a little sing-song. Now let's rewind it a little bit. The reason for this trip? This was all down to tomorrow. We had something planned that we hadn't told the kids about. We'd had this planned for a year, so how we didn't let it slip, I'll never know. But Claire and I, we'd both been excited about this, and we knew for a fact the boys are going to love it. So we drove into the sunset. And in true Coasting the Kingdom fashion, we hadn't planned anywhere to stay tonight, which was a bit risky given we knew we had to be somewhere early in the morning tomorrow. But we took our chances, and we drove straight there tonight to see what we could find. And we should have known we was getting close to where we needed to be, because these tight roads had Harris fencing down the sides of it. And as Claire was trying to edge her way through the narrow roads, I was fighting the Harris fencing away, just so it didn't hit the van. That's how tight it was. But we pushed through, and no more than 150 yards from where this fencing was, we saw this sign. And I thought, surely not. £10 parking, 150 yards from where we want to be? Absolutely. And what made it even better is that the money went straight to charity. So we didn't mess about, we jumped straight in, and would you believe it? Not a single soul was parked here. We had this little green space all to ourselves. We knocked on the door of the house opposite to double check we was okay to park overnight, and they said it was fine. I'm not sure how we got away with this, but £10 for a spot with a view like this, and that money going to a good cause, right near where we want to be? Bargain. The sun had eventually gone behind the clouds, which made for a nice cool evening. So we went for a stroll because we wanted to see something ready for tomorrow. And if you haven't guessed it yet, that's exactly where we're going. And despite all the signage and hardly being able to just about read, I'm surprised he hadn't clocked it yet. And then we found exactly what we were looking for. I could not believe how steep this hill is, and Harley instantly knew.
There's a cheese rolling hill.
What do you mean?
Cheese rolling hill.
Do you think it looks like a cheese rolling hill?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
You reckon it's where they do the actual cheese rolling?
Yeah.
You reckon?
When do they do cheese rolling there?
Now the boys have been watching cheese rolling on YouTube for ages, and if you've seen our Scotland episode, the boys even got a puck of cheese to use and found a small slope to practice with, making their own cheese roll. So for them to recognise this hill from the telly, I was gobsmacked. And I don't think Harley knew what to think either. He couldn't believe he was at the official cheese rolling hill. But what he didn't know was that it's on tomorrow. And it's moments like this that made me absolutely love what we're doing with this project. Making memories for our family. And our kids, they'll never forget this. And we certainly won't either. And I can't stress enough how steep this hill is. We've seen loads of clips on YouTube, and yeah, it looks steep. But when you're stood at the bottom of it, it's really something else. It's a 50% incline, which is between 45 and 60 degrees in some places, and it spans over 180 metres. And the cheese itself, it weighs about 7 or 8 pounds and reaches speeds of up to 80 miles an hour as it hurtles down the hill. So yeah, this is no joke. I still can't believe that this event has been going on for so many years. And of course, our boys had to have a go. They got up about maybe an eighth of the way up the hill and decided to run down it. And that didn't end so well. But luckily, it's all smiles. And some very minor injuries that he wore as a badge of honour.
That's how much injured I was.
And that's just from rolling down from halfway?
Yeah.
Was it fun though?
Yeah, especially when my shoe flied off. And then I did a roll.
Would you like a picture with the cheese?
Would you like a picture of the cheese?
The cheese rolling, Harley.
Yeah.
It's happening tomorrow.
I'm definitely coming in.
Wow, look at this.
Wow, what do you say? Thank you so much.
Right, it's really quite heavy. Feel this?
The heavy bit of cheese.
You got it. You got to hold
Lake,
it.
you
Hold
stand
it
next
nice
to
and
him.
tight and please don't
Laker.
drop it, okay?
Laker, stand next to him.
So yeah, the cat's out of the bag. The boys now know that cheese rolling's on tomorrow, and we're coming. I'm so glad we come along for this walk this evening, because we bumped into the event organisers, who are quite happy to let the boys hold the cheese for a picture. What a touch. But it's back to bed now. We've got a busy day ahead, so we need to get some sleep. So we've got a busy day ahead of us. So this morning, we got straight up, suntan lotion on the kids, and we packed a lunch bag full of drinks, snacks, and stuff to keep us going for the day. Now the cheese rolling doesn't start till 12, but we'd seen online that you need to get there early to get the best spots. So as soon as we got ready, we headed towards Cooper's Hill. That's the name of the hill. And even at 8:45 when we got there, this place was starting to fill up. So we headed for a spot on the further side of the hill from what we arrived at. That looked like the best view. But actually, this side wasn't practical. So we went back to the other side, where we found a spot right in front of the fence, and that was due to be covered by the shade in a couple of hours. And it really didn't take long for this side to pack out as well. Everyone else had the same idea. There was people climbing up through the woods to try and get as high as they could. But honestly, I think we had a pretty good spot. And like I said, we got here at 9:15. So we had a good 3 hours of waiting around. And this place was packing out quick. But with entertaining ourselves, those 3 hours passed by. The sun was beating down and the weather got quite uncomfortable. But we persevered, and with all the marshals and officials running around trying to get the event underway, the Brockworth Rugby Club waiting at the bottom of the hill ready, it wasn't that long before we started hearing chants of and there we go, the first men's downhill race. And we could not believe how different this was watching it in person to on the telly. Pure chaos from top to bottom. All 25 contestants got down, and luckily there wasn't any major injuries. But whilst the officials and the medics were dealing with the minor injuries, one of the organisers shouted out for any participants for the under-10s uphill race. And guess whose hand went straight up? Yep, Harley was not passing up an opportunity to take part in the cheese rolling event, albeit uphill.
Go on, Harley!
So there he is, lined up at the front, easily the smallest kid there, and possibly the youngest ever to do the uphill race. Honestly, I didn't know how to feel at this point. It all happened so fast. But there he is, taking part in something he'd always wanted to do. We had explained to him at the bottom that he hasn't got to go all the way to the top, just go as far as he's comfortable. I think at this point, my nerves had gone, and I was just full of pride. Watching him scale this monster of a hill, I didn't know how he was going to feel. But I did know that if he wasn't comfortable, he wouldn't carry on. He's smart like that. And if I'm honest, I thought he was going to back down about halfway. I see him stand, turn around and look back, and I thought that's it. He's done it. And he could be proud. But no, he pressed on. He wanted to get to the top. And with a huge thanks to the guys at the Brockworth Rugby Club, he almost got a one-to-one marshalling experience. They cheered him on, they supported him, and most importantly, they made sure they didn't fall. So a huge thank you to those guys, because they helped make this little boy's dream come true. And if it's ever felt more relevant, that old cliche of it's not about winning, it's about taking part, was most accurate here. Being the youngest and the smallest, the odds were against him. But honestly, taking part and getting to the top of the hill, what an achievement. He was so proud. All we had to do now was worry about how he got to the bottom. But under strict instructions, the kids will have to slide down on their bums, again with support from the rugby club.
Harley! Harley! Come here, bud!
He's
amazing, mate. He loves climbing. Thank you so much for helping him. I was terrified.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Give him a high five. Say thanks for help.
High five.
Good job.
Now that is the look of pride. And what better way to ease his nerves with the second downhill men's race? Chaos ensues yet again. Absolute carnage. It's almost hard to believe you're watching this in person. It almost doesn't feel real. Can't imagine what it's like doing it. And with the second race finished, again with no major injuries, it was on to race 3. And you don't feel any less nervous watching it over and over again. You just never know what's going to happen. And thankfully, there was no major injuries today, so everyone got home to their families safe and sound. And with the weather being as hot as it was, We didn't want to hang about, so we headed back to the van, dropped some of our stuff off, and decided the best thing to do was go for a walk. The last thing Harley's little legs needed. But he was up for it.
Where are we going?
We are going up to the very top of a cheese rolling hill. And it's already finished. We're not going rolling down again.
No, we're just going to go see it, aren't we?
Yeah.
No, I won't lie. Claire and I are a little bit jealous that Harley got to see the view from the top of the hill, and he told us how high up and scary it was. So we definitely want to go and check it out ourselves. So we set off through the path at Cooper's Hill Nature Reserve, which eventually brought us to the top. And when we thought it was steep from the bottom, we couldn't believe how steep it was from the top. There's no way I'd be running down this hill. And I certainly wouldn't fancy climbing up it. But when you do get to the top, you're rewarded by stunning views, and you get to see the maypole flower as well, which is part of the cheese rolling tradition. But with a day sat in the sun and lots of walking up steep hills, it was time for us to move on. The van was still reading 31 degrees at this point, and the heat had taken it out of Laker. We decided we need to find somewhere to park up and cook dinner. And 10 minutes down the road from leaving Brockworth, we pulled into Gloucester Services, where we took the opportunity to get some showers. A freshen up was definitely needed at this point. So whilst driving, I'd spotted this lay-by on the side of the road. It wasn't exactly luxury, but it served for a perfect park spot while we cooked up some cheesy pasta. And whilst we were eating, Claire had spotted there's a little walk that goes from here and leads into a sea cave. And with the weather eventually cooling down, we decided to go for an evening stroll.
Wow.
We followed the signs for footpath, and eventually it started to narrow in. Overgrown hedges, stinging nettles, thorns. This got a little bit precarious. But we pressed on, and with Laker leading the way, he felt like an absolute trooper. Fair play to him. So after following all the signs, we never actually found the sea cave, but it was a nice evening walk.
Now we're going to the bridge.
What have you seen?
This.
What is it?
Arrow.
So what does that mean?
We did that way.
Come on then.
And that arrow led us to a sentence I never thought I'd ever hear.
I have run out of energy.
How much walking have you done today?
2 billion, I think.
2 billion steps, probably.
And I climbed up a hill, climbed back down, climbed back up, walked all this way, through a gap behind me. It took for ages. We went through private stairs, up some more stairs, find another one, took us to a bench. Well, but not to the van.
We're back to the van. Then we've got to find somewhere to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Are we ready then?
Yeah. Why don't you sleep on the grass over there?
Are you that tired?
Yeah.
And with Harley's little rant over with, we decided it was time for bed. So we started to drive. And we didn't have the best luck with our park for night recommendations. But I guess that's just the nature of not planning your stops. It makes part of the adventure, if you ask me.
Following on for cheese rolling, we've carried on towards Portishead. We've had a little look at the Battery Lighthouse. There was a nice outdoor pool there. Sadly, it's closed by the time we got there. We've carried on a bit further along to Clevedon Pier, and it's now 9:15. So we're on the lookout for the park for night. We've been to a couple of spots, but we're looking for something a little bit quieter. The two that we found so far seem quite busy in the areas that they are, so I'm just going to head a bit further along towards Weston-super-Mare and see if we can find anything there.
We eventually found somewhere late last night. It was pitch black when we got there and completely empty. But there was a little bit of suspicious activity going on around us, which made Claire a little bit nervous. I personally didn't think it was all that suspicious, but we decided to stick with it. I'm glad we did, because it was a decent little park up here at Western Woods Nature Reserve. So, we've had a nice peaceful night's sleep at the campsite, which we weren't 100% sure on last night, but we went with it and it was a decent night. We're off to a campsite today,
and we're going to be having a break in filming because we're meeting up with Claire's parents for the day. And they don't particularly want to be on video, which is fair enough. So we're going to have a break in the filming and we're going to pick up after we've seen them and carry on from there. So we'll keep you posted.
So this morning we're on our way into Western-super-Mare. We drove past yesterday but didn't stop as we were heading to a little campsite called Warren Hills in Breen. So we spent the day there with some family, so we didn't really capture much footage, although we did capture some footage of our little trip to the beach where we did some surfing with the boys on bodyboards. Entertainment on site last night. Both boys were just absolutely exhausted and crashed out. So this morning it's had a bit of a lie-in, a slower start to the morning, and yeah, as I said, off to Western-super-Mare to see what's there, and then possibly hoping to head over to Burnham-on-Sea later this afternoon.
So with such a busy start to our week, that little break with Claire's family was well needed. But today, we're back to the beaches. And unfortunately, the tide was well out by the time we got there. But luckily, at Western-super-Mare, there's this little tidal pool, and there was no hesitation from the kids who were getting stuck in and getting their beach toys out. I mean, it wasn't the nicest bit of water, but it was a bit of water nonetheless, so the kids got stuck right in. And at this point, we're seeing a complete change in Lakers' confidence in the water, which is so nice to see. And with a few hours spent around the tidal pool, we decided to check out some shops, because the boys needed more toys, obviously. So with some new springy footballs and a couple of new water guns, we were well on our way to go to the next beach. But we decided to take a different route back to the van. Across this tidal pool, there's a walkway you can take. And given we stuck to the main path on the way there, we decided it was only right to check this way out on the way back. So our next stop, Burnham-on-Sea. The evening's creeping in at this point. The boys had plenty of energy still, and the sun was still out in full force. So much so that we actually took cover underneath the pier, just for a little bit of shade. By the time we got set up and sat down, there was just something really chilled about this beach. The boys were both happy playing with their new footballs and their water pistols, and we got comfy at our new little base camp. And despite the weather cooling down and the sea feeling a lot cooler, Laker still wants to get his life jacket on and go for a little paddle. But it didn't last long. And the boys played some football deep into the evening, whilst me and Claire planned our next stop for the night. We were well ahead of schedule at this point, and we wasn't far away from our ending point. And I knew just down the road there was a place we could park just outside of Minehead Butlins. So that was the plan. Now, I'd come to Minehead Butlins earlier in the year for the UK Open Darts tournament, and whilst I was there, I'd eyed up these parking spots, and I'd checked that they were suitable for overnight parking, because I knew at some point we'd be passing by, so that worked out perfectly. But we didn't have time to hang around today. We had to get ourselves on the move, so it's breakfast on the go, and we had to go straight to Tesco. We was running low on supplies, so the boys wanted some fruit, and unfortunately, Harley had a bit of a cough the day before, and after recently fighting off a chest infection, we wanted to make sure we could get seen by a pharmacist, or at very best get some cough medicine. So with the important stuff out of the way, we was on our way to our next stop for the day. And first on the agenda, Combe Martin Bay, which turned out to be the perfect spot for a bit of lunch. And luckily for us, the water level was good, so no poison around here. We'd initially sat on the sand to make lunch, but the boys had found this stream that ran alongside the beach and it had plenty of rock pools for them to explore.
I wanted to have fabric to be made out of our sofa bags.
But with lunch done and dusted, it was time for us to move along, and our next stop, Ilfracombe. So as we pulled into Ilfracombe, there was a big car park right in the middle of the harbour, so we got a space, and as we walked out, the boys had found some billboards.
Come.
Yeah.
Look, longest fish, stingray, longest fish, shortest fish.
Should we do that one day?
Yeah.
Go sea fishing.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long for them billboards to do their job properly. We were signed up for the next boat trip out of Ilfracombe. But first, a history lesson.
What's the thing? How did every single person the number to get?
You have to remember the numbers. So I have to put a nanny's number. If I want to ring her, I've got to come here and put her number in to ring it. That's what used to happen before you had mobile phones. The world you'll never know, mate.
God, that makes me feel old. But anyway, our boat was coming into dock, and it wasn't long before it was boarding onto the Ilfracombe Princess. The weather had dropped down, and there was a nice gentle breeze, and this was a nice and welcome change to the weather that we've had over the last week. It was finally time to cool down a bit. But it was full steam ahead out of Ilfracombe Harbour, and for the next hour or so, the sea was our home, like a true bunch of scurvy sea dogs. Except Laker, he was a sleepy sea dog. We sailed around close to the coast, learning about all the caves that the smugglers used to use way back when. And there was loads of them. I bet those wolves could tell some stories. And our boat trip soon passed by, because we was back on our way into the harbour. And as we sailed past Verity, a huge 65-foot bronze sculpture that stands for truth and justice, it was time for us to shake off our sea legs and get back to land. Now, if you haven't guessed already, we love a little wander around an old fishing village. Unfortunately, a lot of the shops were shut, but what wasn't shut was this play park. So it was time for the kids to burn off a little bit more energy before we thought about getting to our next spot, which was a pre-booked campsite. Now, I don't know why we do these things, thinking that the boys will actually burn off some energy, because somehow they have an unlimited supply. And it was now time to get to the campsite, because we was in need of some showers and some facilities. What was I saying about that unlimited supply of energy? Yeah, they kept going, and luckily for the boys, this campsite was all but empty. We booked a non-electric grass pitch where there was only one other van in the whole field, so they had ample amounts of room to run around and play football whilst we got some dinner on. and enjoyed a nice crisp beverage.
Dinner time!
And on the menu tonight, cheesy pasta, pork steaks and sweet corn. And so we got the kids down to bed, and me and Claire stayed up to watch Nature's Cinema right above us. So a new day and the sausages are sizzling. But more importantly, we had access to washing up facilities. Now this is key in our van, because no one likes having to boil a kettle to do the washing up. So we made sure that we made full use of these facilities before we left. So we had sausage sarnies on the go, and we left the campsite, because this morning we're heading to Mortehoe. So we arrived in the village and parked in the only car park that we could find, which just so happened to be right in front of another park. So we let the kids have 10 minutes here while me and Claire worked out where we was going next. But unfortunately, we'd made a bit of a boo-boo already this morning. If you notice, the boys are in full-length trousers, and so were we. Big mistake, as we're going to learn later on. Because we'd seen that there was a nice trail that we could walk that took us out to Mortehoe Point. So we fancied our chances. We headed up through the village to begin our walk. I got slightly distracted by this little craft fair, so we popped in, had a little look, and continued with our walk, because Harley had a little fitness incentive.
Dad, this is buzzing.
Was it?
We need to go to the van and check it out.
No, we'll check it out when we get home.
Why?
So you can get more steps in.
Yeah, just so we can try. And it could evolve like now.
So that little Pokeball hanging from Harley's wrist, that's a step counter. And that's linked to our Nintendo Switch, where he's put a digital Pokemon inside of it that grows, depending on how many steps he gets. A great way for getting the kids off the screen and outdoors. So we'd successfully made it 5 minutes up the path before we had to check another sign to make sure we was going the right way. And this did not help. We just had to wing it at this point. We followed any path that looked like it'd been walked on in the last 20 years and just went for it. It turns out, I think it was the sheep that were walking these paths, because we got stuck a few times. But luckily, Harley'd been learning all about compasses at his Squirrels Club, which is like Scouts for younger kids. So it's down to him to lead the way at this point.
I'm heading east.
East, Dad.
How do you know you're heading east?
Because air is west, south is south, north is the north.
So with that cleared up, we knew exactly where we were going now. Kind of. We followed the paths and come across more sheep, left, right and centre. But then unfortunately, Harley had to bring the tone down a notch with a bittersweet reminder.
Daddy?
Yeah.
You know why I think east is at the bottom?
Why is that?
Because we are.
You mean East London team got relegated?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Not because we're heading west, no?
Well, at least he's not taking it to heart.
East London, East London. East London, East London. East London.
And all thanks to Harley's compass skills, we finally got to the coastline, where we saw plenty of jagged rocks just poking off of the coastline. That meant one thing only. We had to go searching for seals. So it's time to dig out the binoculars and have a good look. Now the boys are getting a little bit hot and ratty at this point, so me and the boys decided to hang around on this rock, have a snack and refresh ourselves with a nice cold drink. But Claire, she went off exploring. She took the camera and binoculars and she managed to find herself some seals. And we all know that Claire loves seals. So she was in her element. But unfortunately, this walk had taken way too long as it was. I think we'd only just touched halfway, so the path just felt like it was even longer than the way here. So we pressed on, and like I said, the kids were getting a bit ratty, and we was all feeling a little bit hot, definitely overdressed for this walk, because the temperatures had skyrocketed from what they started as this morning. And I'm not sure the kids enjoyed that walk.
Will you never come here again, please, Mum?
So with Mortehoe comes Woolacombe, and that was our next stop. That long stretch of golden sand beach we saw from the top of the hill in Mortehoe, that's Woolacombe Bay. And by the time we got there, everyone else had got the memo, because this beach had packed out. But it's time to cool off with some water fun.
What are we doing? Where are we going?
I'm going surfing in the sea.
No way. Let's go. Here it comes. This is your one. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, jump.
Although this sea felt a lot colder than the ones we had at the start of the week, which Harley was not expecting when he jumped in on his bodyboard and fell in. But soon enough, they both got used to it, and it was straight up bodyboard in time. That was until Harley saw some older kids trying something new that he hadn't seen before, and he fancied a go. Skimboarding. And this doesn't work so well on a bodyboard, as he soon learned. You gotta admire the perseverance. And guess what? It paid off.
Yeah!
Right, so we've had a DJI Action 4 for a while now. In fact, we've got it for Christmas. And today is the first time we're really going to test out the waterproofness. So me and Harley, we're off to go and test it in the deep end, didn't we? You excited? Not too excited, but a little bit excited.
What?
Are we going to slip down to the water so we can find some fish?
I didn't do that.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see how it goes. We see this footage, it means we've got the camera back alive and it works. Otherwise, you'll never see it.
Well, that novelty was short-lived. Harley dunked the camera for about 12 seconds and then got bored. So it's back to the beach for sand and water pistol fun. Well, fun for some of us.
Get it, I'm winning. Target 12 o'clock. He's just fighting back. Oh no, he's coming in closer. Yeah.
4, 3, 2,
Do that.
1.
And with me in the doghouse, I decided it's time to go shopping. But unfortunately, a lot of the shops were closing. There's only a couple of beach shops open, so we decided to have a look and eye up some of the skimboards they had for sale. And with the evening upon us, we had to get going, because we had an exciting stopover planned for tonight, one I'd been looking forward to for a while now. This felt like a proper full circle moment.
So we have come full circle yet again this year, which is good news. We have arrived in Appledore, and not just Appledore, but the Appledore car park in which we stayed in our first ever Coasting the Kingdom episode, and the first place we ever stayed on our series. So it's exciting stuff. We've made it back to the start point, setting up the pop top now, but it is late, it's about 9 o'clock. Yeah, the weather's nice, so the sun is still out and it's nice and bright, but the kids do need some sleep. They ran and ran and ran all day. So yeah, they could do with the rest, we could do with some rest, and we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Now this place is a bit of me. It is just a car park with a skate park in it. But this means more to us. This is the first ever overnight stay we had on Coasting the Kingdom. and there was just something about it. That same walk into the park with the kids wearing their pyjamas, straight to the skate park to slide down the skate ramps. And of course, this is where one of our traditions started. And there's no way we was getting this far into the episode without cereal in a mug. So what better place to do it than right here in Appledore Skate Park, where it all began.
I found some treasure. These are good, aren't they? Yeah, I found something for your mummy. It's all for you.
Oh, thank you. What treasure?
And look at the bunny.
It was so nice to see the boys enjoying this park once again, and I know for a fact they remember this, and it made me think, now's a great time to sit down and reflect on the last 12 months. When Laker gains consciousness, of course.
How does it feel to be back in the first ever camp spot where we went on Coasting the Kingdom?
Quiet. This is the best bit, and the park car, they're just over there, see? And there's another bit over there, I think.
You reckon?
Yeah,
So what's been your best ever bit on the Coasting the Kingdom stuff since we started?
everything.
Everything's been good, yeah?
My favourite bit is, as you see, a single bit. And this is the best bit because I can see the van.
It's the best bit because you can see the van, yeah?
The worst bit of the holiday was when Nanny left, and when Nanny came, that was the best.
But it's time for us to say goodbye to Appledore, for the last time potentially. And I know we haven't made it around the entire coast yet, but it's definitely felt like we've made it.
We've just left Appledore and we're heading down towards Westward Ho to spend the morning on the beach. The boys bought themselves some new skimming boards yesterday, so they're desperate to try them out on the waves. So we'll see how they get on with that. And then this afternoon we're going to catch up with some friends who live down this way and then see where the day takes us.
And for me, getting to Appledore car park where we first started our first trip now means that we've completed this trip. We've gone from the River Severn in Gloucester all around to Appledore in North Devon. So that's trip complete. Anything from here on is just a bonus to our trip. So we decided we've got one more beach in us before we go home. Plus, we bought the boys 2 skimboards last night, so we had to go and try these out. We dropped our stuff at the top of the beach and we walked down to the sea. For a much anticipated go on the skimboard, we had high hopes. And I won't lie, I was excited to give this a go too, and it's definitely not as easy as it looks. Despite trying multiple times and failing, there was no way I could get this thing to go. But we persevered, and with some of us falling behind, and some of us getting better, we decided maybe skimboarding's not for us. But at least we tried. So it was time for our last ever lunch on this trip. We headed back to the base camp where we dropped our stuff off and got stuck in with making some lunch and playing some typical beach games. Like digging in the sand, making sandcastles, and dunking your head in a bit of water and drip it on your brother to get him wet. You know, the classic. I have no idea what inspired him to do this, but he was loving it. Hardly less so, but they were playing nicely. And our time at the beach had soon come to an end, because now we're finishing our trip off with a trip to our good friends Jack and Erin, who you might recall from our first episode. So I've known Jack for ages, but given that he's moved down to North Devon, we don't catch up as often as we like. So we really appreciate when they invite us round when we're in the area, so we can have a nice time catching up, talking about old times, like their wedding a few years ago. Just look how young Harley is. Laker wasn't even born yet.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm a bit...
And as ever, there's always a warm welcome when we come to Jack and Erin's house. Uncle Jack already spoiling the kids with digging out more toys for them. And it wasn't long before the boys wanted their football out and they started playing games with Cooper. Makes a nice change to them play with a younger kid rather than slide tackling each other all the time. And Jack didn't mess about looking after me and Claire too. There was cold drinks on tap, literally. And they put on a great barbecue and loads of picky bits for us to have. As well as good food and drink, they sport us with great games and great entertainment, and the best hospitality. They let us give the kids a bath, which they definitely needed, and we stayed up late into the night, talking and reminiscing, and just generally catching up. So a huge thank you once again to Jack and Erin for always making us feel welcome. But it's time for us to finish our trip. So morning came round, we bid our farewells, and it was time for the monstrous 5-hour journey home.
Well, that's another trip all completed. We started down in Gloucester and headed along to Appledore. We actually finished just a little bit further along in Westward Ho this morning, and now we're just making our way back up to Derbyshire. So hoping that the kids just entertain themselves as best they can on the way there, and we'll stop as and when we need to. We've had an incredible week. The weather has been perfect. We've had really lovely sunny days, which has meant the kids have spent time in the sea and just running around on the beach. It's been lovely. So yeah, here's to the next trip.